Hello and welcome to EPLW 11s. I'm Joe Carter. In this episode, we are looking at Newcastle United. I've got together with a couple of fellow EPL enthusiasts and we've put together our best 11s of Newcastle United players in the Premier League era, and we're going to go and discuss and debate them for you right now. Have your say in the comments and let us know who gets into your greatest Newcastle United Premier League 11. As I said, I've got a couple of mates along to help me out with this one, Roz and Ronan. Do you guys want to quickly introduce yourselves? Roz?
Yeah, hi, I'm Roz, big EPL fan, and can't wait to get started.
And Ronan?
I'm Ronan. I've been interested in the Premier League since around 1994, so just about the time Newcastle were last good.
Brilliant. Okay, let's get straight into it then. First off, I've got a little bit of history for you. Newcastle United have been a member of the Premier League for all but 3 years of the competition's history. Officially nicknamed the Magpies, fans are also colloquially known as the Geordies and the Toon Army. They have a somewhat dusty trophy cabinet, as Ronan just alluded to, with a few more from the Premier League era, before the Premier League era, alongside a couple of second-tier trophies and the now defunct Intertoto Cup from 2006, a trophy which essentially awarded qualification to European competition. Their highest finish in the Premier League is second, which they achieved twice in the 95-96 and 96-97 seasons, a period of time known fondly at the club as the Entertainers era. They boast some great records in terms of Premier League goal scorers and have always attracted some great creative players. I'm really looking forward to this 11, guys, so let's start off with our goalkeepers, shall we? And no surprises here when we're talking about Newcastle's best EPL goalkeeper. It's a given, isn't it?
Hey, straight in there.
So yeah, no surprises here. We all went for Shay Given as our goalkeeper in this. I'll just show you our team so far. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, attackers. So you can see Roz's team there. He's got Given in goal. Ronan's team there. He's got Given in goal, and I've got Given in goal as well. Why did we go for Shay Given then, lads?
I mean, it has to be, right? He was there for, over 10 years, starting for Newcastle, consistent, both for Newcastle and the Irish, national team as well. One thing that surprised me when I was looking at him, internationally, he kept, 40% of his games were clean sheets for Ireland, which feels quite high considering Ireland were punching above their weight for some time, and Newcastle likewise. They weren't always blessed with the best defence, but he saved them kind of many a time, so couldn't look past him really. Yeah,
absolutely. Roz, have you got anything to add there? Fourth on the all-time appearances list for Newcastle, by the way, 462 appearances, and 83% of fans voted him the greatest goalkeeper ever to play for Newcastle in an official website poll. So not just EPL, but also greatest ever for the club.
Yeah, I mean, a quick word about Steve Harper, just because he was Given's number 2 pretty much the whole time. I mean, he was at the club for 20 years, since 1993, when Given finally stopped for Newcastle. I thought Steve Harper was actually superb and really stepped up there and kind of took his chance. But, just for loyalty, apart from anything else, being at a club for 20 years is pretty solid.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, it's got to be the longest sort of number 1, number 2, consistent partnership in record. Surely, I feel like they were together so long they started to look the same. You can tell them apart.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I mean, I think that pretty much settles it on goalkeepers, doesn't it? Should we just move on to defences? So, Roz, we're going to have a look at your defence first, and I'm going to try something new that I haven't done on EPL before. We're going to gradually reveal your defence. You've gone for a back 3 of Woodgate, Jonathan Woodgate, Philippe Albert, and Fabrizio Colaccini, which is interesting because that's exactly what Ronan went for as well, a back 3, Colaccini, Woodgate, and Albert. I went slightly different. I mean, in the interest of balance, I went for a back 4, and I went John Beresford at left back, Warren Barton at right back, and the centre backs, Albert and Colaccini. Why are you putting Woodgate in? He only played 28 games for Newcastle. Roz?
Can I just say that is there enough Newcastle United player that played so well for Newcastle in a short spell to get a transfer to Real Madrid because of that? I mean, any player that has such a good season that gets Real Madrid's interest has to be up there.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. Ronan, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, well, I think with Woodgate, I know, he only played for Newcastle for a short time, but in terms of quality, he had it. And, interestingly, in his 2 seasons at Newcastle, they finished 3rd and 5th. After he was sold, and in the season they sold him, they also sold Olivier Barnard, right? They're the only other defensive sale. That season, then after that sale, they signed Boomson Babiaro, Stephen Carr, Ronnie Johnson, Andy Fye, Nzogbia, Milner, and Nicky Butt. So a whole host of defensive-minded players, and then they finished 14th the following season, shipping way more goals than when they had Woodgate. So I think it's justified for me.
So you're saying Woodgate is sort of, he's a cult hero, but he's irreplaceable.
Yeah,
irreplaceable.
I've just realised. Michael Owen's like the opposite, isn't he? He played so badly for Real Madrid that he got sold to Newcastle.
Inverse.
Well, I mean, I'm going to tell you why I went for wing back. So left back John Beresford was the original overlapping wing back. He was a trailblazer, and he's the reason we see a lot of overlapping wing backs these days in the Premier League. Part of the entertainers era, obviously, and that is what Keegan brought to this team. And likewise, Warren Barton on the right back was the most expensive defender in English football when he moved to Newcastle in '95 for £4 million. Who was that from? Anyone know?
Wimbledon?
Yeah, Wimbledon. Ronan on the trivia. Love it. So that's why I kind of went for wing backs. I thought that was, a good shout. And my centre-backs, are the remaining 2 centre-backs that you guys went for. Philippe Albert and Fabrizio Colaccini. Philippe Albert, under 100 appearances, something of a cult hero. It's something that we seem to see with Newcastle, is they have these cult heroes. Roz, do you remember that chip against Man United, Philippe Albert?
I did. I mean, I'm a bit younger than both of you, just putting that out there. But so I probably didn't. Well, I didn't see it live. But I remember seeing it for the first time, and I thought for a very long time that he was a winger or a number 10. It actually surprised me when someone told me, it's centre half. Ridiculous technique.
And Ronan, what about Colaccini? 200 appearances for the club.
Yeah, I mean he was there for a long time. I think he made the Premier League Team of the Year one of those times. And really, to be honest, there's not a whole host of choice in centre backs. I think at Newcastle in the Premier League, to be fair. So it wasn't a great pool to choose from. Sorry, Newcastle fans, but Colaccini got my vote.
I won't hear a word against Titus Bramble.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting one because when I sat down to go through and do my 11, I found it really difficult on the centre backs thing. But they are 3 standout centre backs in their history. I just don't think Woodgate is. I don't know if I'm allowing Woodgate. Yeah, great player. He was good. He had a little bit of controversy in his time as well. But less than a season. I don't know. I'm not happy with that, guys. I'm just going to put it out there.
But in fairness, Joe, you've gone for a back 4, and I can think of one time where Newcastle played 3 centre halves when I've been watching, which was around 2006 when they had Sam Allardyce. And we all know how that worked out. So,
Big Sam.
we decided to take them back 4.
Big Sam used to wear a headset, didn't he, Ross?
He did. Why would you bring that up, Joe?
I don't know.
I always wanted to be Big Sam, so
Yeah, you could have Big Sam. We could have Phil Collins. We could have Britney Spears.
Do you reckon? Do you reckon Ronan's got Sammy Lee standing just off camera there, like, and he's just like talking to him? What do you reckon, boss? Okay, let's get back to the Newcastle 11s, shall we? And let's take a look at our midfield. So here's what I've gone for. I've gone for a midfield 4. Okay, a traditional midfield 4, if you like. My centre mids, Rob Lee and Gary Speed. And then on the left, I went for Ginola. On the right, Norberto Solano. Ronan has gone for a 4 as well, or kind of a 5. Let's call it a 5. He's gone for Duff on the left, Solano on the right, Gary Speed in the middle, and Jorginho Wijnaldum in the middle as well, with Peter Beardsley in a kind of attacking centre mid role. And Roz has gone for a midfield 5, but more of 3 centre mids. And he's gone for Speed, Genus and Dyer in centre mid, and then Ginola and Solano on each wing. So, Ronan, let's come to you first. Duff, you're the only one that's chosen Duff out of all of us, and Wijnaldum actually. Could you tell us a bit about Damien Duff and why he got your attention for this 11?
Yeah, I think both of them, to be fair, had their best Premier League spells not at Newcastle, but in terms of the quality of players that have played for Newcastle, I think they both deserve to be in there. I think Duff. I was debating between Duff and Ginola. I think Duff is just a more consistent player. And I'd rather him on sort of the left wing. I think I could rely on him a little bit more up and down than Ginola would offer, especially going back. And obviously two-time Premier League winner at Chelsea, so gets my vote on the left.
Yeah, and Roz,
didn't Damien Duff score the own goal that got them relegated?
Yeah, I think it's deflection. Could have happened to any of us,
I can't argue with any of that.
Yeah.
I should say that best days at Newcastle, Wijnaldum got relegated as well. But world-class players. Just not Newcastle.
Exactly. I think Wijnaldum, obviously the season he was there, centre mid, he was their top scorer that season. He got a 4 in one game, I think it was with Norwich. And there's not many midfielders have done that in the Premier League. Obviously, he went on to better things at Liverpool, but Newcastle fans probably wouldn't pick him. But in terms of quality players that played for them, I'd stand behind him.
From one quality player, Roz, to another, David Ginola, bit of a cult hero again. Only 58 Premier League appearances for Newcastle. It's not like a stalwart in the side. Again, he did big things elsewhere, but yeah, we've put him in. Only 6 goals. And never won a trophy with them. Not even individual honours, really. I mean, not national ones or anything. But why did we choose Ginola? Why?
Because he played, like he dresses, like he speaks. Just everything is just so cool. Just like disgustingly, sort of revoltingly cool. Just feel significantly like a lesser person just watching him as a pundit and as a player. Just beautiful to watch, world class. For me on the left, it was kind of between him and Chris Waddle, who neither of us picked. But I think Ginola just for the class.
Yeah, someone we all chose is Nobby Solano, isn't it? And I've got a little note here about Nobby Solano. Let's have a look. Another sort of creative flair player that Newcastle attracted, and personally I remember this amazing passing move that he finished off with the outside of his right foot against Everton. I think it was like 2005, 2006. I looked it up, and he actually scored both goals in a 2-0 win in that. So like one of those players that could create these magic moments, Ronan.
Yeah, I mean, he was a live wire, wasn't he? I liked Solano. He was really good player. A lot of crosses in. He's actually got a band. I was looking at the Geordie Latinos that they're called. If you want to look them up on YouTube, a salsa band. And interesting, he also managed a non-league team in the northeast called Newcastle Benfield, which I thought was interesting and unexpected, but obviously quite a character, and I think Newcastle fans certainly took them into their hearts.
Yeah. I wonder if his accent's sort of halfway between like Peruvian and Geordie. That'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be a great accent.
It's absolutely classic. That's one of the beautiful things about the Premier League, isn't it? Is that players come here from overseas and they remain for so long that they end up with these ridiculous accents. There's a few names that come to mind, but let's keep it Newcastle. To combine a foreign accent that we're maybe unaware of with a Geordie accent is something quite to behold, isn't it?
It's impressive. Thinking of accents, maybe, I don't know if we're picking a manager for our 11. I'd imagine someone that wouldn't get on that list is Steve McLaren, because he does an interesting Dutch accent, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He's got a very interesting Dutch accent, yeah. Someone we all picked, and this is a bit of a sad one, is Gary Speed, MBE. It was a truly sort of sad loss to the footballing world when he passed away in 2011. but we're going to focus on his footballing legacy. He was twice FA Cup runner-up with Newcastle, over 200 appearances, and in terms of the Premier League as a whole, he's the 6th all-time appearance holder, 535 appearances. Ronan, why did we pick Gary Speed?
I mean, I went with him just, his consistency is just so consistent throughout the Premier League era. Starting off, obviously, he won the league with Leeds, the year before. He played always at, generally top half clubs in the Premier League for pretty much his whole career. I'm not sure if he ever got injured. I just always remember him being there and contributing at both ends of the pitch. So he was one of the first names in the team sheet for me.
Yeah, Roz, have you got anything to add to that on Gary Speed?
Not so much. 213 league appearances. So certainly not one of those kind of cult classics that kind of has one season at the club. Like I think he'd probably get into a few of these kind of club all-time Premier League 11s. He'd certainly get into Leeds, I'd imagine. Might get into the Everton one as well.
Bolton.
Superb player.
And Roz, actually, I'm going to stick with you here because there's something we haven't discussed about your midfield yet. It's Jermaine Genius and Kieran Dyer. Talk us through your rationale in choosing those in your all-time Premier League Newcastle 11.
You know what? They're two players I loved watching as a kid. They're two players that most Newcastle fans seem to hate because of all of the controversy when Sir Bobby Robson left. And those two kind of got scapegoated quite a bit in the press as the ones who kind of, the kids who kind of turfed him out effectively, which I thought was kind of unfair. And if you've watched any interviews with them talking about Sir Bobby since, I think a lot of that was kind of press, kind of, tabloid rags throwing out this kind of story. Two players that had injury troubles throughout their careers and were so highly rated as kids. Not like an English player, is it? To be rated as world class when they're kids, and then from its injury problems or what have you, kind of never actually reached their full potential. But no, I think for their time at Newcastle, even under Bobby Robson, I can't remember the exact finishes, but it was something like 5th, 6th, 4th. They were in that side that got to the Champions League. So, yeah, I'll stand by them.
Yeah, someone neither of you chose, though, was who made it into my 11 was Rob Lee. Ronan, why didn't you go for Rob Lee? 303 Premier League appearances. And he was in the 95-96 Premier League season Team of the Year. To get into that Team of the Year, you've got to do something special. Why didn't he get into your team?
No, I like Rob Lee. I mean, to be honest, when I first thought Newcastle, initially, it was Speed and Lee together was kind of where my mind first went. He was a quality player, bought from Charlton in '92, stayed at Newcastle, a long time. He was a quality player. I just went with Wijnaldum because I think, it's obviously it's difficult, but Wijnaldum is a more complete player in the modern era and can offer more if just based on an 11. I think he would contribute more, but Rob Lee was a fantastic player for Newcastle.
Yeah, and one more Ronan that you included in your midfield 5, Peter Beardsley, who we haven't mentioned yet. Do you want to talk us through why you went for Beardsley?
Yeah, I mean, Beardsley was pretty much first name in the team sheet for me. When I started watching football, Beardsley was at the end of his career, but he was great to watch. When before we got your Bergkamps and your kind of your exotic players coming over, he was just fantastic to watch. The way he moved the ball, his vision, his precision of passing, of shooting. I think he was fantastic. I remember watching later, the Masters. Do you remember that they used to do the Masters football on Sky? And even then, I remember just watching that, and he was just phenomenal, just one touch, bang, like his positioning as well. Great player. A player that you would have loved as a striker to play with, I think.
Yeah, very good. Roz, is there a reason that you left Beardsley out that stood out, or is it just the fact that you couldn't fit him into, your 11?
It was the latter. And basically, I sort of wanted to go with that kind of back three. I really wanted Genius and Dyer to get in. Couldn't leave out the two wingers. And then I'm thinking that actually, if you replace one of those with another kind of very much more attacking-minded player, a sort of number 10, sort of attacking midfielder striker kind of thing, then the team might start to look a little bit fragile. But a great player.
Okay, well, so far, I mean, our teams are looking quite good, aren't they? Let's be honest. But we haven't even talked about possibly the greatest man to ever don a Newcastle shirt. It's no surprise then that we all selected a particular person up front, but there may be a surprise of who we chose to go with him. So, Roz, you went for Andy Cole with Alan Shearer. Ronan,
I did.
You went for Michael Owen with Alan Shearer. And I feel like I'm going to get lambasted for this, but I will justify it. I went for Shola Amiobi with Alan Shearer. Now, first off, I'm going to reel off a little bit of spiel about Alan Shearer, and then I'm going to let you have your say, okay? Premier League's all-time leading goal scorer, 260 goals. 3 times Premier League Golden Boot winner. Most Premier League penalties scored, 56. Most Premier League goals from inside the box, 227. Most Premier League goals in a single match, 5. Fewest matches to score 100 Premier League goals, 124 matches. Is there anything else that needs to be said about Newcastle's number 9, eternally, Alan Shearer?
I mean, it's from the area, which is always a good start in terms of getting into parts of the fan base. When you hear a lot of Newcastle fans speak, they sort of talk about how at a Man United or an Arsenal, you have a long list of these kind of players that you absolutely idolise that are a god in the city. And with Newcastle, they have one that they consider that highly, and it is Alan Shearer.
Yeah, Ronan, is there anything you wanted to add on Shearer before we move on?
I mean, he was fantastic for the world record signing at the time, and delivered season after season, consistently top scorer in the Premier League. He was phenomenal. I guess the only sort of negative there was post his playing career when he managed them for that half season and they went down. But yeah, I mean, as a player, phenomenal. Yeah.
So I mean, let's get on to our strike partnerships then. Roz, I'll start with you. State your case for Andrew Cole, or as he was known at the time, Andy Cole.
I'll do it incredibly quickly, Joe. I'll say 70 league appearances, 55 goals. And I did compare him to the likes of Les Ferdinand, who wasn't there for particularly long either, and the likes of Big Duncan Ferguson, who I thought was there for longer as well. I sort of have this memory of him and Shearer being in the same side for longer. But with all of these kind of world-class strikers, great Premier League strikers, Andy Cole had the best stats for Newcastle.
Fair enough. And that was a very good summary. So you're going on the kind of goals to game ratio, and I guess I guess when you think about, like you said earlier, or like I think Ronan said earlier about a player. I know it was you. Sorry, Roz. A player playing so well for a club that a bigger club comes and signs them, e.g. like Woodgate and Real Madrid. Now, Andy Cole went on to do big things at Manchester United, didn't he?
I thought you were going to say Birmingham City. I'm just trying to think, actually, because obviously Shearer's top of the Premier League all-time goal scorers. Andy Cole's certainly top 5. But is he 3rd or 4th? Rooney's probably overtaken him by now. But just imagine a side with
Andy Cole's 3rd. 5. Andy Cole's 3rd. Yeah.
The all-time Premier League goal scorer and 3rd. It's not a bad looking side, is it?
It's not a bad looking side, especially when you've got the likes of Genius and Dyer in centre mid to back it up. Okay, Ronan, do you want to talk us through your Michael Owen choice up front?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, it was between Cole and Owen for me. Obviously, Cole's goal scoring record was phenomenal in Newcastle in those in the early 90s. The reason I went with Owen is just, as a player, I think he was just a better player than Andy Cole. I mean, in terms of his the international stage, obviously Andy Cole, I think he may have scored 1 goal for England. Obviously, Michael Owen was, a hero for England for a long time. Ballon d'Or winner. I think in terms of a partnership, I was looking at it, as well. I think Shearer and Owen combined, well for England when they played. And in terms of Newcastle, when they bought Owen, obviously from Real Madrid, it was Shearer's last season. I think with Owen then obviously played by injuries. I think they played 11 games together, so it didn't turn into the kind of what everyone hoped it would be. But in those 11 games, I think they scored 13 goals between them. So, they were a partnership as well as two great individual strikers. So that's the reason I went with Michael Owen.
Okay, fair enough.
I would just say in terms of partnership, they can't stand each other now.
Now, right? Yeah, yeah. Apparently, when
going at each other for
absolutely, yeah. It's all in the press, right? Apparently, when Michael Owen moved there, Shearer moved him into his house. While Owen was looking for a place to live, and they were sort of best mates. And then I think it all turned sour when Shearer became manager, and he felt Michael Owen was kind of looking for a transfer, right, and didn't give it his all in those last few games, and then they didn't speak, I think, for 10 years after that. So
well,
sour.
there you go. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Why did I choose Shola Amiobi? Well, let me tell you. With just under 400 appearances for Newcastle, 14 years service, a true Geordie lad. He just needed a mention, didn't he? I mean, maybe not the greatest goal-scoring record, but a loyal servant to the club, like Shay Given, like Steve Harper, like these people we mentioned. It kind of balances out the likes of Ginola and Woodgate and Philippe Albert and these sort of cult figures that didn't stay there for that long. So that's why I went for Amiobi, and I'm feeling a little bit silly now after what you guys have just said about Cole and Owen.
I'll tell you something interesting about Shola Amiobi. There's this new wonder kid at Man United who's meant to be like a real hotshot. His name's Shola Shoretiri, and he came from, he's a Newcastle lad. Parents moved to Manchester when he was a kid and then ended up at their academy. His dad named him after Shola Amiobi. How amazing is that?
Well, there you go. I should have done my research a bit better. I should have been me saying that, shouldn't it, about Shola Amiobi?
I thought you were going to say it was his son then. I was thinking, oh, God, I'm old. And did I the other day, Ian Wright's grandson he plays for Man City. He's like 17 or something.
Sean Phillips' son.
Yeah. Oh.
If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then don't forget, drop a like on the video. Comment if you disagree or agree with any of our 11s. I'm going to run you through them at the end of the video. We also have a Patreon now. So if you head to patreon.com/Joe Carter EPLW, you can donate. If you enjoy what you're seeing, you can subscribe and you'll get exclusive content and free stuff. Go to patreon.com/Joe Carter EPLW. Same name as the channel. And obviously, talking of the channel, subscribe to the channel so you never miss any of these videos. So, guys, one more question before we run through our 11s. Who's the manager?
I think there are two that come to mind for me. Obviously, Rafa Benitez has kind of recently been idolised, but I think in terms of actual success with Newcastle, rather than just kind of keeping them up, it's got to be between Kevin Keegan and Bobby Robson, hasn't it?
Interesting, Ronan. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, Keegan for me is the one that epitomises sort of Newcastle, right? Or what they kind of believe themselves, or to be that fluid attacking football, but that emotionally charged kind of. Seeing Keegan almost as this kind of messiah figure that's going to deliver this, great brand of football and success. But obviously it, ending, in a really difficult way, particularly that 4-3 defeat to Liverpool is the one that really stands out for me when they kind of, the league slipped away from them and Keegan slumped over the advertising boards and fans crying and stuff. It kind of epitomises everything that is Newcastle for me. This sort of great attacking football, but also this kind of emotionally charged sort of, unstable state, but it was fantastic. And you said earlier, Joe, like the entertainers, it was great football to watch. So I'd probably go with Keegan on that basis.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not much more I can add to that. I mean, I would go for Keegan personally, purely for those reasons. It's hard to disagree, isn't it? He's a true Geordie lad. He's adored by the fans, you know, and a club legend to boot. Got them their highest ever Premier League finish twice. Roz, did you go for Keegan, or you sort of left us in the
I'm going
lurch?
for Bobby, actually.
You going for Sir Bobby?
But I'm going for Sir Bobby Robson. I think everything you said in terms of sort of loved by the fans, idolised from the area, you could also say for Sir Bobby Robson. I think that Keegan should have never gone back. So I think his second spell kind of hinders it a little bit. And just the squad that actually Bobby Robson took over, which was sort of, I don't know if they were 17th, 16th, but they were sort of right at the bottom of the table. Brilliant manager. And if you actually listen to just the way that players that he did manage, just talk about him and his management, and just a real father figure to a lot of the players there. And he also, you know, went on to have success at other clubs that he managed, including the national team, including Barcelona. So
Yeah,
that's my argument.
he's actually a bit of a name drop of mine. I met him in Barcelona when I did a tour of the Barcelona Stadium as a kid. But that's by the by. Let's not name drop too much. We're going to run through our 11s then to finish off. So we'll start with my 11, which was wearing the fetching 95-96 away kit, the blue and maroon hoops. Shay Given in goal, back four, John Beresford, Philippe Albert, Fabrizio Colacini and Warren Barton. Midfield four, Ginola, Lee, Speed and Solano, and up top Shearer and Amiobi, managed by Kevin Keegan. Ronan went for Given in goal, Colacini, Woodgate and Albert as his back three. Damien Duff on the left, Nobby Solano on the right, Speed and Wijnaldum in the middle, and Peter Beardsley behind Shearer and Owen, with Keegan managing. And Roz went for Given at the in goal, Woodgate, Albert and Colacini as the three centre-backs. Three centre-mids, Genus, Speed and Dyer. Ginola on the left, Solano on the right, and up front, Cole and Shearer, with Sir Bobby Robson managing. Look, I've really enjoyed this, actually. It's been really interesting to see your guys' opinions, and I'm really interested to see what other people's opinions are. So if you've watched this, if you've got this far watching this video and you've enjoyed it, get in the comments and tell us what you think. Yeah, but for now, we'll say ta-ra, and go and check out some of our other videos. Ronan, thanks for joining us. Roz, thanks for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you next time for another EPL 11.